I would like you to close your eyes, please. Just for a few seconds, imagine you're not able to see. You're trying to read a book, but the pages are blank. You're trying to check your phone, but the screen is just a smooth pane of glass. You're trying to navigate a new city, but all the street signs and the landmark are invisible. Now, please open your eyes before you fall asleep. For you, that was an exercise. For me, this has been my reality for so long. It's a life that is lived on the edge of design. It's a life that I experience through sound, touch, and memory. I was born as a third blind child to an impoverished family in Somalia. At the age of 7, I received a generous scholarship to study abroad in a blind school. Believe it or not, that school was right here in the beloved land of Bahrain. It's a land that gave me my first opportunity in life after His mighty blessings. It's the country that gave me the blessings of my life until now. Now, going back to my childhood, I said goodbye to my family, not knowing where I'm going. My dad drove me to the airport and boarded me the flight alone at the age of 7. Yes, at the age of 7. As I arrived in Bahrain, immediately, unfortunately, a civil war had just erupted back home in Somalia. And therefore, I got separated from my family for a very long time. I hope that war has nothing to do with my departure. But on a serious note, who would have thought 35 years later, I will be back here to share this story with you. Now, going back to my childhood, for a child with no sight, with no family, and with no common communication language, as I did not speak Arabic at that time, you could just imagine how overwhelming that was for me. Luckily, I started to move from surviving to thriving. As I got educated through the Braille language for a few years, something fundamentally changed my life a couple of years later. A technology known as screen reader that converts text to speech on laptops and devices had completely altered my life and allowed me to be integrated into the main society. It felt like getting out of a small, dark, yet cozy room into a loud, vibrant, busy souk here in Bahrain. It allowed me to read books in different formats for the first time. It allowed me to write emails. It allowed me to go on holidays and use maps with audio. It allowed me to do many things, and then even I say it allowed me to go on a blind date, both literally and metaphorically. This connection, this bridge, is what I want to talk about today. It's not about technology alone. It's about profound, often overlooked truth. My experience living on edge of design is not a design deficit. It's a design brief. The thing is, when we include the edges, everybody benefits. But we tend to view accessibility as a niche concern, as a special favor for few. But today, I want to show you this is the opposite. In fact, Let me walk you on a literal edge as I'm walking today. A term that I got to know intimately, known as curb cut effect. The curb cut refers to the small ramps at the end of pavement that was initially designed for the wheelchair users. But who else use them these days? Parents with buggies, delivery workers with dollies, and travelers with luggages, and everybody else in between. A basic necessity for few became essential convenience for everyone else. This is not happy accident. This is a predictable of an inclusive design. Also consider the technology in your pocket. Things like voice commands, speech to text. They initially were designed for the visually impaired and people with dexterity limitation. But who of us here did not send a text while using Siri or Alexa while cooking their dinner? Also think of a video caption. Once was a lifeline for the deaf and hard of hearing. Now, how many of us had used video caption while trying to consume video content in a loud environment, or simply trying to follow with our favorite foreign movie? But my favorite story, in fact, is the typewriter. In 1808, an Italian engineer called Pellegrino Torri had invented the first version of the typewriter, not to start an industry, but to help his blind friend, Carolina Fantoni, to communicate in writing for the first time. Now, who would have thought the need of this blind lady would inspire the foundation of the word processing and the global communication of today? Therefore, it's not exaggeration when we say disability is not a deficit of people, it's a deficit of design. Now, in order for us to deal with this deficit, I'd like you to understand the concept of universal design. Universal design, it refers to the way of building infrastructure, products, and services to suit as many types of people possible without the need of much of adaptation. It's guided by 7 principles. But today, I want to quickly highlight its essential slogan, which is convenient for 50, so it's essential for 15% of the population, supportive for 40%, and convenient for 100% of the population. Let's take a classical example of an accessible toilet. It's essential for wheelchair users and for the blind person like myself. It's supportive for a parent with toddler, an elderly grandparent, and for somebody on a crutches with temporary injury. And it's convenient for everyone else who appreciate turning around without hitting their elbow. After all, it's called restroom for a reason. This concept of universal design had inspired the most comprehensive accessibility regulations until today. In this year, the European Union had passed something called European Accessibility Act, which basically makes it mandatory for both public and the private sector for the first time to be accessible across many domains, including transport, e-commerce, and interactive screens. Not only for those organizations and companies in the European Union, but also for any foreign business or organization that serves customers in the European Union. It has huge implications, similar to the Data Protection Act, which will eventually make accessibility common business practice. But in order for us to understand the validity of all this, we need to look at the economic argument, or as we say in a business term, the bottom line. Accessibility comes with a lot of myth, and one of it is that it's costly. But I actually want to show you it's a huge economic growth. Look at this study, for example, by the Return Disability Group, in 2024, they've highlighted that the global spending power of people with disability annually with their family, and listen to this, is a staggering $18 trillion. This is the largest emerging market in the world, and yet most of business are not competing for it. To illustrate, imagine you own a supermarket. The doors are automated. The aisles are wide. The signs are clear and consistent. The products have accessibility QR code, and you have helpful staff members. There's a huge chance you'll be benefiting from this $18 trillion. And guess what? You might also be earning repeated business from non-disabled customers along the way. Another myth that comes with accessibility is the inclusive employment. Some of us view it as a CSR initiative. But I want you to look at this study, for example, by the Accenture in 2018, called Getting Equal. They've studied 140 organizations who has a disability-friendly agenda over a span of 4 years. And these were astonishing findings. These organizations had generated more sales as they recorded 28% higher revenue. Their profits margin were 2.6 times higher. And not to mention, their brands had benefited a lot along the way. Well, what does this really mean in terms of economy? It means our GDP is larger. It means market for new products and services are created. It means more people employed who are in turn paying more taxes, contributing to a virtuous economic cycle. Fair enough. Some of us are still not convinced by all the above. Let's look at the inevitable. The World Health Organization estimates that in 2050, the age group of 60 and above will double. As we age, our needs and body changes. Things that we look today as accessibility concerns for others, such as handrail, large font, tomorrow it will become essential for all of us. So therefore, ignoring accessibility is not only short-sighted, but is a failure to prepare for our own future. As the old saying goes, we are all temporary able-bodied. And therefore, investing in accessibility is a collective investment in our own selves. Just like we invest in our retirement, in our income to retire, we need to invest in the way we will need to live when we retire. Now, what is my design brief for you? In fact, let me say, I have a challenge for you. This challenge is simple yet profound. Stop designing for the average. Design for the margin. Because when you design a product and services and infrastructure for the blind, for the wheelchair user, for the elderly grandparent, and even for the young child, you have most likely designed something that is beautiful, simple, intuitive, and robust for everyone else. But in order for us to do this, we need to revisit some basics. We need to acknowledge disability is a fabric of any society and not an isolated medical condition. We need to stop treating accessibility as a legal requirement or a charity act. We need to see it for what it is, a catalyst for innovation, an engine for economic growth. My experience as a young man navigating school and life in Bahrain and beyond had showed me that when we truly include the edges, the center becomes stronger. We do not design products for few. We discover scalable solutions for everyone else. As Eve Anderson, the senior director of inclusion at Google, once said, the accessibility problems of today are the mainstream breakthrough of tomorrow. Thank you.